Good evening, everyone. Back again on a Monday night, sitting here on June 22nd. Got a little World Cup action going on, so we're going to kind of go through where we left off with our last update. Since the last time we spoke here, it's quite a bit has gone on. USA beat Australia. Even without Christian Pulisic. For some reason, I can't speak. Sat out precautionary with a little calf injury. No big deal. Excuse me. U.S. won 2-0. Advanced to the knockout round of 32. Not only that, when we got the result later that night with Paraguay and Turkey, that result actually won the group for the U.S. So they've won their group. They're going for 3 wins in the group stage, which I think they've only done once, which was 1930 or something like that. So pretty impressive feat there after here. The team looks really good. Other than that, there's been a few teams already clinched the round of 32. Some have won their group, some haven't. Mexico has won their group and advanced. The U.S., of course, Germany, and I believe France clinched a spot tonight with their win. Spain, I don't think Spain clinched yet. Let me see who else. Who else played today that clinched? Let me look real quick. Argentina clinched. More on Argentina coming up here in a second. But right now we've got some games going on. We've got France. I mentioned. I said they won. They were up 3-0 with like 3 minutes plus stoppage time left to go in the game. So France won. So they'll advance. Just before we came on the air, Norway wound up taking the lead on Senegal. Norway doesn't have to win, but a win here would lock them into the round of 32, which is huge for Norway because their final game is against France. So, France is one of the teams to win this tournament. Norway would really, really like to go ahead and secure the round of 32, where that game really doesn't have as much. I mean, it does, but it won't mean as much if they lose it because they're already locked in. So, and then later on tonight, we've got Algeria playing Jordan. I mentioned Argentina won 2-0 today. And we had some history made. Lionel Messi wound up scoring 2 goals today to break the all-time record with Miroslav Klose from Germany, who had 16. Messi now has 18. This record could be extended by Messi, but it also could be passed if Messi goes on a dry run, because Mbappe from France is like 2 or 3 behind him, and he scored 2 today, so he's still 2 to 3 behind him. This record could go. Plus, I would expect that if Messi doesn't make the next World Cup, that it'll break then, because Mbappe is 27 and Messi turns 39 in 2 days. So the next World Cup, Messi would start off being at the age of 42 or 41 going to 42, somewhere around there, 42 going to 43. So that's a record that could be broke coming forward. Real interested into what the U.S. is going to do. Their game is Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern time against Turkey. And the reason it's that way is because the way FIFA sets the World Cup bracket, this year is a little different because head-to-head is the first tiebreaker, where it never was before. It was always goal differential. So it's a little bit different, but they've always started the final group stage game at the same time, so that let's say that the U.S. and Australia were tied with 6 points apiece or whatever, but they were playing at opposite times. But let's say Australia played first and had one goal. They won 1-0. Well, the U.S. would know they have to win 2-0 to advance. So they play the games at the same time. So there's really no way to manipulate, because say that they were tied and Australia lost. Well, then the U.S. could know that if they win, they get first place, or if they lose, they could get first on goal differential. So the U.S. just maybe plays a B type team, a bunch of subs, and just says, forget it, we're already through. They want it to matter. So obviously it's different right now because the U.S. Has won their first 2 games against Paraguay and Australia, whereas Turkey lost both their games. So the U.S. is already, even if they tie and it goes head to head, the only team they could tie with would be Australia. And so if they tied with Australia with 6 points, they have the head to head. So there's nobody that can catch the U.S. So a little bit different this year with the way the tiebreakers are working. But it's a crazy event. The atmosphere in these stadiums is insane. The people from all over the world sitting in the U.S. posting videos on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok about the stuff they're seeing over here that's just blowing their minds. It's just a really, really good atmosphere that's been going on here in the U.S. and Mexico and Canada. Also, don't want to forget them as being hosts as well. So, but we're enjoying the run the United States is on. This is a team different than anything I've seen in my years of watching World Cup and just the U.S. men's national team. This team just looks a lot different. I'm not going to say they can win the whole thing. Not going to say they're a team to beat. They're a team that's kind of taken everybody and gotten everybody's attention, though, which is weird. Normally, you only say stuff like that when you're talking about the U.S. women's national team. But this men's team is really good. They're really fun to watch. If you have a chance, tune in, support, watch them. Like I said, I know Thursday night at 9 p.m. is a little late for some people. By the time the game's over, well, the game will be over roughly 10:45, 11. So not too late, but we've had some really, really interesting results. Spain back on track against Saudi Arabia 4-0. Belgium and Iran tying was a little bit of a shock to me. Uruguay tying Cape Verde was a pretty big shock to me. And then last night, Egypt came back and beat New Zealand. Now is everybody's kind of Cinderella. They wound up tying Ecuador, which was a huge shock. It was almost as big of a shock as Cape Verde tying Spain in the first game. Being up here in Columbus, Ohio, cool little tidbit for any Columbus Crew fans that would remember this guy. The goaltender for Curacao, his last name is Room. He was actually the goaltender for the Columbus Crew in MLS for a little bit. So a little bit of a tie there. The Netherlands keep rolling on, 5-1 over Sweden. Germany was behind forever against Ivory Coast. And I was like, what is going on here? And then they scored late, and then they scored in stoppage time back to back to win the game. So kind of shocking, though, going into it. I've already talked about the USA beating Australia. Brazil looks like, got back on track 3-0 over Haiti. Of course, their first match was against Morocco, who's really good, too, and they tied. And then, let's see, last Thursday's results, Canada put it on Qatar 6-0. Mexico held off South Korea, which that was kind of a battle for first and second in that group anyway. Expected that one to be close. I'm not going to try to get into details, but do want to give some prayers out to one of the players for Canada who was tackled really, really bad and wound up looked like, don't want to speculate, but it looked like he broke his leg. They had him in an air cast heading off the pitch. So, you hate to see that in any sporting event. These guys worked for this for so long, and this is when they play for their national team is to make the World Cup. You're a host nation for this World Cup, and then something like that happens. I'm not going to say it was intentional. I'm not putting that on anything, on anybody, but it's one of those things that happens in sports. A lot of us that may see this are American sports fans. We see it all the time in football. You see it all the time. So, but you hate to see it in any sport for any athlete that works that hard. So, other than that, we're sitting here on Monday night. Like I said, we've gone through some of those, little preview of what's coming up through the rest of the week. These games are all going to be stage 2 game, or, leg 2, the second leg of the group stage, where the group stage is a group of 4 teams per group, and it's a round robin. Everybody plays everybody. So you got Portugal taking on Uzbekistan, England and Ghana. That could be a sneaky good game there. I expect England to win that. I expect Portugal to handle Uzbekistan. Panama, Croatia could be another good one. I'm going to lean Croatia in that one. And then Colombia and Congo play. I'm going to go Colombia leading in that one. So that's what I'm looking at for tomorrow. Wednesday, we get into the final leg of the group stages. So at 3 p.m., Group B will actually play, which is, hit the wrong button, sorry. Scroll back over. Group B is actually the group with Canada, Switzerland, Qatar, and Bosnia-Herzegovina. So Canada should beat Switzerland, and I've got Bosnia beating Qatar in that one. You also have the Group C final matches, which are at 6 p.m., which is going to be Morocco, Haiti, and Scotland, Brazil. Morocco, Haiti, but that could be a really good game. And then Scotland, Brazil. I mean, Scotland, don't ever count them out. They've been on a heater. They wound up losing the other day to Morocco. Brazil's Brazil. And then you also have the Group A stage, our final stages, which is where Mexico is. Mexico plays Czechia, and South Korea plays South Africa. I'm taking Mexico and South Korea. The only reason I wouldn't lean go is if they decide to rest everybody, being that they've already won the group stage. So that would be the only thing I'd take caution on with them. Same with the United States. And then on Tuesday at 4 p.m., you have Curacao and the Ivory Coast, and then Ecuador and Germany. Those are Group E. Germany, head and shoulders of that, unless, again, they rest people. So we'll see how that plays out. Ivory Coast, Curacao, don't really have a feel for it. I'd like to see Curacao win. I think if they win, there's a potential that they could get into the next round, which is crazy for the smallest nation to ever qualify for this. At 7 p.m., you get Group F, which is Japan and Sweden. Take Japan, I would. And then Tunisia and the Netherlands. Take the Netherlands. I would lead the Netherlands. And then at 10 p.m., I guess it's 10 p.m. I thought it was 9 p.m. It said 9 p.m. on the TV earlier, but my phone says 10 p.m. So 9 or 10 p.m. on Thursday, you've got Turkey and the USA and Paraguay, Australia. So, those are where those are. I would take Australia in the other match. I don't know about the Americans. let's see what they decide to roll out for a lineup. It is some of the matchups. This is the one day I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens here. Because Friday at 3, you have Norway, France. That is going to be just a banger of a game. Senegal and Iraq. Senegal should take that one pretty comfortably. And then you turn on, you got Cape Verde and Saudi Arabia. That could be for a potential spot in the next round. Uruguay, Spain, and then Egypt, Iran, and New Zealand, Belgium. Saturday, you've got England and Panama, Colombia, Portugal, Ghana, Argentina, Jordan. Argentina, Jordan is not going to be pretty for Jordan. Argentina should handle him pretty bad, actually. So, and then Sunday, Saturday actually ends the group stage completely. That's the end of the group stages. And then Sunday, you start getting into the round of 32. So definitely I'll have another little show on Sunday because by then all of the bracket, everybody will know who's playing who in the next round. And we'll be able to kind of a little bit of a look ahead for that portion of the tournament. And from that point, it goes to single elimination. It's the knockout stage. So you'll have high importance on that. And from there, you go, 32 to 16 to 8, just like the March Madness basketball tournament for college basketball. So other than that, it's just a really, really fun sporting event. I mean, it's the biggest sport in the world. So if you haven't tuned in, try to tune in. I know soccer is not a high scoring game, and some of the rules might be a little bit confusing. Like they have offsides, they have all this, trying to figure out what it all is. But you can always comment on any of the videos you see, and I'll answer whatever questions I can. And if I can't, I'll look them up and get back to you. But it's not high scoring. It's kind of more of a tactical sport. You'll see them just passing the ball back on their own half of the field. Let's kick it to the goalie. He'll kick it back to me. I'll kick it back to another guy. He'll kick it to the goalie. But it's all about just getting people in position before you start making your move forward to attack. And that's where the tactical side of this sport comes in. So some of the saves these goalies have made have just been insane. I've seen them reach back with one hand and slap the ball back. You see them just get themselves really big and do crazy stuff. The amount of athleticism and stamina it takes to play that sport is crazy. I mean, these people are this tournament's a little different because of a lot of the heat. They're doing hydration breaks, which kind of makes it turn into 4 quarters versus 2 halves of a hockey game or 2 halves of a soccer game. Used to be no hydration break, and it was just 45 minutes straight through, except for scoring and injuries and things like that. But they don't stop the clock. They just add time on to the end of each half. So it's a little crazy to watch. It's a little hard if you're not used to it to figure out what's going on. Why are they doing this? People don't understand how can you end in, ties. Well, that's where goal differential comes in when you're in a group stage. But ties only are in play for the group stages. Well, once we get to the round of 32, if it's tied, they go to two 15-minute overtimes. Used to be the golden goal, and now it's not. It's just you play 2 15-minute overtimes. If you're still tied after those 2 15-minute overtimes, you go to penalty kicks. And you can advance like that. So, in fact, that's how Argentina won the last World Cup, was they beat France on penalties, and France was going for back-to-back World Cup titles. which hasn't been done since 1958, and 1962 was the last time we had a repeat winner at the World Cup, and that was Brazil. France got really close last year, but Argentina wound up taking them on penalties. So, but some of the people to watch in this tournament, I mean, if you want to see some of the most phenomenal soccer players ever, you have Messi, Mbappe, Holland, who plays for Norway, Kane out of England. The list goes on and on and on. Yamal from Spain, who's I think 18, and he is just a worldwide nation. Of course, you got your Christian Pulisic from the U.S. You've got, just Chris Richards, Matt Freed. You got all these different guys that are making a name for themselves for the U.S. especially. Some of them are known. A bunch of them play in England and in Europe in the big leagues over there. So it's not like we don't have talent. It's just not something I've seen the U.S. put together. And they seem to be doing it this year. So even if you're not into it, but you're curious what's going on with this and how's it all work, and get behind the U.S. men, if for no other reason, just get behind them and kind of give them some support. Or whatever nation you happen to hail from. If you're watching this, support your national team. It only happens once every 4 years. So something fun. Seems to be a lot of patriotism in the stands from all the different nations. The Norwegian fans are insane. Those dudes get in there and they act like they're rowing a Viking ship all in unison. It's crazy to watch. You have the Tartan Army over here drinking up Boston. They drink Boston apparently out of, or working, they're doing their best to drink Boston dry. These guys are just out partying, having a good time, enjoying the sights. And, if you run into some of them, be friendly, show them around, give them some pointers on what to go look at. So other than that, I'm going to get back to the conclusion of the Norway game, and we'll be jumping on the regular time at 7:45 tomorrow with the WTP Sports Dudes, doing some more content on college football. So definitely go like, subscribe, share all the channels scrolling down below us. Hit the notification bell so you know when we go live, and we'll catch y'all on the next one.